This Easter, I showed up to church early, but with my laptop. Not to rehearse, not to run through the set list, but to fix a tone problem before 1,600 people over 4 services walk through the door. I'm Shane, and this is Sunday Guitar. I'm not on staff at my church. I have a regular 9-to-5 full-time job outside of music. I just show up every Wednesday for rehearsal and every Sunday as a volunteer because I love this for 18 years. And this Easter, I was sitting on stage with my laptop open, reprogramming my pedal board right before service. Because the tone I heard at home the night before was completely different than what came back in the rehearsal playback recording. You see, at my church, we record our rehearsals from Wednesday night. We use these through the week to listen to how the songs flow and just generally practice to get better. And my tone on this particular recording was something that I was less than proud of. The song in particular was Washed by Elevation Rhythm. If you don't know it, there is a great intro line and electric guitars that's clean, it's dirty at times, it's chorusy, it's just nice. And I took pride in developing this tone from scratch at home in my studio here. In fact, when I played it, it sounded lush and beautiful. I sent it to some of my friends to review, give me critique. They all said it sounded fantastic. But the recording, well, it sounded different. This is what it sounded like at home.
Verse 1.
Well, the recording from Wednesday's rehearsal, way too much reverb. The guitar got buried in the mix with just bad EQ. Take a listen.
I'm gonna have some fun in the room. I'm clean, the sin was stained on. I'm done. And your love was spilled on Calvary.
Now that's the same guitar, that's the same guitarist, and that's the same gear. I had about 45 minutes to make a fix before the doors open, and I did. And that's worship guitar. Here's what nobody explains when you start playing worship guitar. At home, you're the only instrument in the room. Your guitar fills the entire frequency spectrum. It sounds huge because it's not competing with any other instrument. Sunday morning, you got keys sitting in the mids. Bass and kick drum, they're owning the low end. Drums, they're cut through the top. Lead vocals, well, they're right in the middle of everything. And your tone didn't get worse, it got buried. Now most guitars try to fix this by turning up, and that just simply doesn't work. You just get louder mud. The real fix is to understand where your guitar actually lives in the full band mix and making sure you're not fighting the space that belongs to someone else. For me, I use 2 specific tools in my rig to solve this. First is a Source Audio EQ2, early in my chain, number 2 actually. And then at the very end, I have dual stereo ToneX units. They do 2 completely different jobs, but let me show you exactly what each one does. My signal chain goes guitar into the compressor, then straight into the Source Audio EQ2. From there, goes to the mastermind, which controls everything downstream. Now, the EQ2 has 10 fully movable frequency bands and 128 presets available. And even though it's sitting outside of the PBC's loops, it's still being controlled via MIDI. So if I pull up a patch for a specific song, a chorus, the EQ2 automatically loads the curve that I built for that song. I'm not touching anything manually. Let me show you how I set up those presets. The EQ2 has a great interface, the Nero app, available on both mobile device and desktop, or you can make these adjustments on the pedal. The first adjustment I make is a high-pass filter at 120 Hz. This is the most important cut for live church use. At home, that low rumble sounds warm, but in a live room with bass and kick drum, it's just mud. Here's what that sounds like. The same chord progression, no high-pass filter first, then with it engaged.
No way your promise can fail. It never
Try it tonight. Over full band recording, your guitar will find its place. The second adjustment I make is a cut around 300 to 500 hertz. I call it the blanket zone. And this is what makes your guitar sound muffled, like it's wrapped in a blanket in a live mix. Use your Q factor to tighten up that frequency range. You can start to slowly sweep back and forth until you find out where it honks. When you do that, cut it around 3 to 4 decibels. For example, the song Sinner by Bethel Music. It's not a volume problem, it's a 400 hertz problem. I cut it, and my guitar appeared. The third adjustment I make is a cut around 2 to 4K on songs where the lead vocal needs a little bit more space. And the lead vocalist in worship music, they live in that 2 to 4K range. That's their clarity. If your guitar is camping there, the congregation can't connect with the words. Here's the difference. Same song, vocal in the mix, first with my guitar sitting in that range, then after I pull it back.
All hail King Jesus. All hail the Lord of heaven and earth. All hail King Jesus. All hail the Savior.
Cut 2 to 3 decibels on quiet, intimate songs. Your guitar gets out of the way immediately. And that's just doing your job. The fourth adjustment I like to make is a presence boost around 1 to 2K when I just need to cut through. After all those cuts we just made, sometimes I need to push my guitar forward slightly. 2 to 3 decibel boost around 1.5K with a medium Q. That's what sounds best for my rig. All of this is song specific via MIDI. Washed gets its own curve. House of Miracle gets another. Center another. You get the idea. All of these, I built them in the Nero app. I prefer the desktop version. They load the moment I change songs. I change a preset on the mastermind. Really easy, really simple. The two most critical pieces of gear to affect your tone are your guitar and your amp or amp modelers. They're at the end of your chain and the last thing before the PA. I run dual stereo ToneX units, and I'm running the Tone Shepherd's Chimera and ProSonic version 2s exclusively right now. But here's the thing about amp captures. As incredible as they are, they don't all translate to a live church PA the same way. A capture that sounds incredible through your headphones or studio monitors at home can sound like complete garbage in a live room with a full band. So every time I load a new capture, I go through the same process before it ever goes on stage with me. I isolate it completely, meaning I put my guitar directly into the ToneX, nothing in between. I use the ToneX's built-in EQ to shape the capture until it sounds exactly right in complete isolation. Quick tip for you, when you load a capture for the first time, give the gain knob and the model volume knob a little wiggle, even if you put it back to 5. It just does something to the model that makes it sound fuller, bigger, better on the initial load. These aren't plug-and-play captures. Then I do the same thing for the other side. Next, I move on to gain staging. Anytime you change your amps, you need to go back to gain staging. We'll get more into that later. Then I do the wet effects, micro adjustments at every step. By the time the capture hits my board on Sunday, it's already tailored. I'm not asking my sound guy to fix my tone. I'm handing him something that's finished. His job is the fader. Not my EQ, not my reverb, not my gain, the fader. Now that philosophy came from 18 years of watching sound guys fight with guitarists like me, who show up with raw tone, expecting the board to fix everything. I don't want to be that guy. Not anymore. Not ever. So back to Easter. I pulled up my PBC editor on stage from my laptop. 2 changes had to be made to the wash patch. First, I looked at the EQ2 preset I had loaded for the song. The low mids in that room with the band and how they were playing and excited for Easter, it was just making a big wall of mud. So I cut a little bit at 350 hertz and pulled back slightly about 500 hertz. Took about 2 minutes with the Nero app. Second, I removed the Mercury X reverb completely from my patch. At home, the reverb sounded lush and beautiful. In the room at rehearsal, on that mix, you heard it. It was washing everything out, burying the guitar under just a wall of wet. Gone. So, with dry delay, no reverb, I let the room do the work. 45 minutes before service, laptop on stage. I made 2 adjustments. And now, here's what it sounds like across all 4 services.
Come on, you can get to your feet so you guys can see better. We got all the string here. Come on, we're gonna sing. Oh, I'm clean. Your sin was stained on me, and shame was run, yeah, deep. Your love was spilled on Calvary. Oh, hallelujah.
That's what having a programmable system gives you. You can be that precise. You can fix a specific problem for a specific song in a specific room and not affect anything else on your set list. So here's what this actually means for you. Whether you have my exact setup or not, if you have any EQ in your chain, even just the tone knobs on your amp, start with the high pass. Cut below 120 hertz. That one adjustment alone will change how you sit in a live mix. Next, find your mud. Sweep through that 300 to 500 hertz range. When you find the honk, cut it. You'll know it when you hear it. Next, think about the vocalist before every song. Is your guitar in the way of the words? If yes, pull back 2 to 4K. Give that space back. And if you're running amps or amp modelers like the ToneX, build your patches in isolation. Get your tone right first. Guitar straight in, nothing in between. Get that right before you add anything to it. And don't rely on your sound guy to fix what you built wrong at home. If you're thinking about a programmable EQ, the Source Audio EQ is what I use. 10 bands, fully parametric, 128 MIDI presets, song-specific curves that are loaded automatically, 1 pedal. I think it handles it all. I give my sound guy a finished tone. That's the standard I hold myself to as a volunteer. And if I'm going to take up space on that stage every Sunday, I'm going to show up prepared. For my next video, I'm doing a complete walkthrough of my full Sunday pedal board. Every pedal, every loop, every reason it's there. And if you want to see exactly how a fully MIDI programmed worship rig works in a real church, that's the one. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you Sunday.